Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Dennis. For Motoliu Photography, this is a creator's journey. Today we're going to Snoqualmie Falls and we're going to be doing some tests with the iPhone 12 versus the Canon EOS R6.
Well, so just so you guys know, this is my R6 and the iPhone 12. I have a little reflection on there because I have a little plastic cover on it, but I have a feeling that this picture is not going to be as good as it looks on the phone right now. Let's go ahead and zoom in. Look at that. That's actually pretty damn good. That looks pretty good. You probably wouldn't be able to tell on the GoPro here image, or maybe we'll see when I get it on the computer. Okay, so that's the zoomed in all the way on the iPhone. Now obviously this screen is not as good, I guess, or high quality as the iPhone 12 screen, but let's zoom in and see what we got. I'm gonna tell you right off the bat, even looking through the GoPro, the colors look a lot more high def, and I think that's about as close as I can get on that. Yeah. So, but man, look at that. All right, you see the letters? Let's take a look at these letters. I see a big difference. All right, so I have a couple of teriyaki places that I love to go and eat, and I think the teriyaki is the best. And the last time I came here, I thought the teriyaki was pretty good. We're gonna find out how good it tastes today. My mouth is really watery because I'm so hungry. But after we get done here, as you saw, I took a picture of the drink and the food. Now, I took a picture manually, but to be fair to the iPhone, I went ahead and switched my camera, okay, to auto mode, everything auto. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna grab the phone, take pictures, I'm gonna focus on one subject, and then I'm gonna do the same thing with the R6, focus on one subject, and we'll see what difference we have in pictures. So this is not about getting the great photo, this is about comparing the auto modes on both the iPhone and the actual professional camera. Down to chicken teriyaki. There's a place in Everett, it's called CC Teriyaki, and their chicken teriyaki, wow, is the best. I mean, I think the sauce texture is good, enough sugar. But the meat, tastes kind of like, I don't know if they have frozen it before and then defrost it. Tastes like simple, you know, the meat tastes simple. And the katsu, the fried breading tastes pretty good. But then the chicken is so thin, it makes you wonder if it really is chicken. That's too skinny. Oh, it's called chicken teriyaki here, so it could be a rat or a cat. Hopefully not. I'm not gonna complain about the food. It does taste good. It's just not the best. And not the cheapest. I paid $16 for this plate. Get a drink. When I go eat at Cece's Teriyaki, lots of meat, lots of chicken, and the drink. If you're eating around this time, you get a free drink. So that goes down. All right, let me finish my food, and we're gonna head down to the Snoqualmie Falls. We're really close, so just a couple of more minutes drive, and we should be there. All right, so I finished eating, and normally when I like something, I finish it completely, but I just couldn't finish this plate. We don't waste any food. Let's go.
All right, so a couple of things. I'm not sure if the bottom view is going to be open for me to go all the way down there, but I'm going to go down there. Another thing is there's no drones allowed here, I don't believe. I still have it in my backpack. I'm not going to use it. Got to respect the rules. But I want the weight, I want the weight in my back because it's good exercise. So I'm gonna go ahead and get into the spot over here on the view, take a photo with the phone, and then take a photo with the camera on auto. See what we get from each one. But before I do that, let me show you the waterfalls here real quick. You used to be able to go all the way down there, but down in the actual spot where the water is, but they sealed that off, maybe for safety reasons. But what we're going to do is we're going to go down the trail, and there should be like another viewpoint from down there, and I think that might be open already, but last time I came it was still closed. I recently saw somebody took a photo of it from down there, so hopefully it's open. But let me take a couple of photos and see what we get. Good. All right, guys, so I actually made it down here to the lower viewpoint, and there was a couple of guys over here speaking sign language. So I was trying to tell them that it doesn't matter if I make too much noise then, right? And they started laughing. They have a little translator on the phone. That was pretty cool. So, all right, let me show you this viewpoint here, guys. That's it. That's the lower viewpoint for the waterfalls here in Snoqualmie. So I'm going to go ahead and take a couple of shots on auto, but I also want to take a shot for me and try to compose it a little bit different with the way that I want to take my photo. And that's not going to be in the comparison. I'm just going to compare everything that's been shot in auto mode. So let's see what we get over here. I think the water has a little bit too much water coming down, but nonetheless it should be a nice picture. All right, guys, so I took a couple of photos for myself with long shutter, and I took the auto photo with the R6 and the auto photo with the iPhone. Some people came over there and started smoking some weed. Oh boy, a little high now. So I'm gonna go back, but there's a couple of other pictures that I want to take of like flowers, and there's some tree trunks that I photographed before, so I'm gonna use those to test the iPhone photo quality. So far I'm gonna say it's pretty good, but I wouldn't rely on my iPhone for professional photos. Just not the same quality. All right, so after this I'll go ahead and show you the photos, and we'll talk about them, and then we can go ahead and close this vlog for today. All right, guys, so here we have the pictures from the iPhone comparison to the Canon R6. A lot of people out there are thinking that the phones can give as great quality as a DSLR, or in my case, a mirrorless camera. And while the pictures are good from smartphones nowadays and everything looks great, I'm comparing the iPhone 12 to the R6. There is an S21 something else that is out there that takes great photos. I also want to put that to the test. Now, just as a disclaimer before we start, one thing I do have to mention is that the phones are actually taking great photos when there's a lot of light. But as you're going to see on this review here or comparison, you go ahead and be the judge for yourself. Now, I know it's not fair that you're watching the comparison on the screen here, because what my computer shows might be different than what your screen is showing. But I'll try to be as detailed as possible and as short as possible, so you don't have to sit here for an hour and a half. All right, so the first picture that we have, it's from the iPhone 12. Now, there is a difference between the lens on the phone. For example, my lens is a 24-70, which is the one that I use on the R6, and the phone shoots with 3-5 millimeters, and so there's a big difference on the depth of field that the phones and the cameras actually capture individually. So a lot of the settings for the smartphones, or in this case the iPhone, are like very small aperture, so it allows for a lot of light to come in. But unfortunately, with the sensor size that it has, it just cannot capture every single aspect of a picture that you're taking. So with that being said, here we go. All right, so this is actually a small teriyaki place, as you saw earlier. The food was not that great. I think it was okay, but I do like my CC Teriyaki here in Everett. No, they're not sponsoring. I just love to eat at that place. All right, let's go ahead and take a good comparison of this. This picture right here is the iPhone 12, and the picture actually looks pretty good. And as we look at the details on there, I mean, look at that. The letters are nice and sharp. Everything to my eye looks pretty doggone good. I mean, look at that. That is actually very good. Now, as I look over here on the sides, it looks washed out. And one of the things that the iPhone does, and that's what I notice, is that it tries to mimic blurriness or bokeh in the background, and it just doesn't do a good job. I mean, the lens quality is not the same as the lens quality that I have on my camera, but here's the picture from the R6. The colors are a bit richer, more high def in my opinion. And as we zoom in here now, I took this at 2.8. It should have been at maybe like at 4 or maybe 5.6. So the letters start to get a little bit blurry on here because of the depth of field, but that's just because of the way that the camera took the photo. And I think I might have changed this. Now, I think that everything that I took on here, as I remember, is everything was in auto, so the camera gets to pick what settings it's going to use to take a photo. It did a pretty good job to where it focused. I see a lot of detail on there, and as I look at the table, nothing is washed out. Everything is nice bokeh, the way it's supposed to look. So that is the difference when you're shooting with DSLR. And I'm zooming in, I believe, at 100%, so that way you guys can be the judge. This is going to be an iPhone photo, and as you can see, everything is nice and sharp. Everything is in focus. The rise is pretty good, not bad. It's not perfect, but it's not bad. Actually, it looks pretty good. If you're going to share these pictures on social media and stuff like that, they're okay, I guess. But this is a picture with the DSLR, and man, just a big difference in the background. Now, I focused this one when I touched the screen. I focused on the rise. Look at the difference on the rise. I don't know if you can tell, but this rise looks a lot more defined. And yes, the chicken is going to be a little bit off focus. Actually, a lot off focus when I zoom in that far, because of the depth of field again. I'm not sure why the phone kept using 2.8 for this. I would have used a 5.6 maybe, or at least I would have had more distance between me and the plate. But I was trying to match the size of the photo on the phone, so that's my disclaimer there. Yeah, but it doesn't compare to the DSLR either. This is the waterfall. I actually took this at f5, which maybe I could have used an f9 because there was a lot of sun, and there was enough light in there for me to actually go bigger and make everything more focused. But nonetheless, everything has detail on it, and I like that. I like detail. Nothing looks washed out. Leaves still look like leaves except for the ones that are moving, but that just has to do with my camera handshake. And then this is the iPhone's photo, and as you can see from this distance, actually looks pretty doggone good. As we close in, it looks like the texture is kind of missing. It starts to look more like painted on instead of a nice crisp photograph. The phone tries to focus and change accordingly, but I don't like that the phone keeps changing the warmth and the coolness in the photos. And that's something that you have to deal with when you're shooting manual or automatic on the smart devices. Even the camera, the DSLRs. I like to use manual shooting. There's very rarely that I use any semi-auto settings, but that's just me. This is the 4.5. Again, I should have shot this at maybe at f8, but we are letting the phone do everything for us. So I'm very harsh on my judging of my own pictures because I'm so used to picking the actual f-stops and shutter speed and lighting, all that stuff. But the phone decides, the camera decided to go with a 4.5. And as we zoom in here, you can see that everything is nice and sharp. The background starts to get blurry, but even though it's blurry, there's detail. You can tell these are branches, these are bushes, these are trees back here, to where, as with the iPhone 12, the iPhone decides to shoot this with a 5mm 1.6, and it looks sharp to what it can be, but this part in the back, it starts to look again degraded, kind of washed out. Looks like too much contrast or texture put on there by the phone's processor. So I don't like that. I like to have control of that myself. This is a picture with the iPhone, which I think did a pretty good job in here. Now, guys, I did adjust this so that it's not overblown highlights or too darker shadows. But there's only so much you can do with the iPhone photos because they are JPEGs. But it did a pretty good job nonetheless. Again, it's a little bit washed out, but it looks like it's focused. So that's what we were going for. And then the camera decides, the camera decides to focus where it wants to. I pointed out this branch right here, and it doesn't look like it focused there. It looks like it focused in the back branches somewhere, yeah, right there, and then somewhere over here. So the back is gone. It's a nice bokeh, but it's not washed out. And everything looks good. This blurry leaves, that's depth of field, so that's to be expected. As we look over here in the corner, man, it still looks sharp. Where it's supposed to be at 2.8. Yeah, I wouldn't trust my camera's auto to take pictures for me. No way. All right, so then this one is going to be the actual waterfall. And this one is my DSLR. And as we zoom in here to these rocks, you can tell nice and sharp. Water is all, choppy because it's moving, obviously. And again, focus right there on sharpness. I can see the detail on the rocks. And as I take a comparison to the iPhone did a little bit too much processing on the picture on the sky up here. It's kind of purple. And that's not the way it was looking. As I zoom into these rocks, again, the texture, you can see that. I hope you can see that. It just looks like over texture stuff. So that's what I don't like on the phone's part of it. But if you look at it from a distance, it looks great. It looks good. But this is the reason why when you're printing photos from an iPhone or a smartphone, even if it says 20 megapixels, 30 megapixels, when you make the picture, the bigger you make the picture, the more you're going to notice all those imperfections in the actual photo. So this is on my way back, and this is the iPhone. I think the picture looks great. I like the texture on the tree. It looks over texture, but that's okay. It looks good. Leaves kind of look washed out a little bit. But nonetheless, if you look at it from a distance, right, it looks good. So if you're sharing on social media or Instagram, I think the phones, they're good enough to take photos. But I don't think it's going to be the same quality when you're trying to make big prints. Not at all. And then this is the actual camera. I should have stepped back a little bit more so I can get more things in focus. But I believe that I was focusing right in here somewhere. And I think the camera decided to grab some of the branches back there again. And it actually shot this one at f9. So I'm surprised. So, but nonetheless, you don't have the same sharpness on the close trunks in here, which normally I would make sure that it is focused. So, yeah, there you go. Auto setting, not good for me. Okay, this one it actually took it at 2.8. It looks like, and I focused right here on this flower, and it seems like the focus is actually on this flower below. Nonetheless, I think it's a great photo. The bokeh is nice. As you get closer, pixel peeping type, you're gonna see maybe a little bit of noise on the background and stuff like that. But believe me, you can't see that at all on a print. All right, and here is the iPhones. Spectacular focus. Look at that, not washed out at all. So same thing, I focus on this flower right here, and it looks like it focused back here. I'm just tapping the screen, guys, on the phone and on the LCD screen for the camera, and so that's how I was shooting these photos. Then I go back on the hike up to going to the top, and then this is the photo with my camera, and I was focusing in here right in the middle in there, and you can see the texture, you can see the shapes perfect, looks good. This blurriness again, man, I would have shot this at f11, especially from that distance, to get more focus or sharpness on the rest of the branches. And then the iPhone, of course, is going to try to compensate and try to get everything sharp, and so it does. It's got the nice sharpness on there, but texture, it looks over processed to me. Nonetheless, you can still tell that is actually the same tree, so that's a good thing. This one is going to be the camera. It decided to shoot this at f5.6, and now it's shooting at 1,000 ISO, and it looks great. I mean, to where focus, it looks perfect. But I did want all the branches to be in focus, and it failed at that. You can see the background, the bokeh it looks pretty good. Everything's blurred out. The phone again is going to try to focus everything, and here it focuses everything, but in the back. All right, so that's the auto settings. Again, I'm gonna have to mention this over and over, but yeah, just a little disappointed. I thought it would actually do better than that. All right, this is the iPhone texture. This is where it needs to be texture. So I focus right here on this rock, and from a distance it looks like it's nice and sharp, and texture is there. But as you zoom in, you can see how degraded the actual picture is. And I am hoping that DSLR is not like that. So yeah, if you see in here, there's more round detail, there's more pointy details. It actually captures this tree trunk the way that it actually looks like. All right, and then we're gonna go to a picture outside as you're coming back up the hill. And what I notice is the sky actually looks like the sky that was there. The mountain color is green, as it should be. And as I focus in here, you can see the cables are nice and sharp, the trees, the electrical poles, leaves, I can tell they're leaves. And so I think it's a great photo. And here's the iPhone, of course, over processing the sky. So it makes a lot of blue, getting rid of the clouds. And I don't like the blue cast on the mountains. Sometimes the mountains do look blue from a distance, right? But if you look at these trees over here, there's no, it's over texture. There's no more sharpness. There's no round tips that are clear. There's no tip points that are clear. And even though you can still tell what it is, you can see in here, it looks like somebody, brushed it with by hand. Nonetheless, it's still, again, it's a good picture for social media. All right. I am surprised that the camera decided to use 2.8 for this photo, and I think it did a great job. Nice and sharp on the stamps here for the flower. Love that look. Bokeh on the ground looks perfect. iPhone, trying to compensate and trying to create that bokeh. Nice and sharp though. That's actually focused pretty well there. And yes, the flower's a little bit washed out as we get closed in, but nonetheless, again, social media, Instagram, these photos will look great. If you want to print them out big, good luck. This is the DSLR. And this one actually focused on the stems. Very good. Texture, colors, everything is perfect. You can print this really huge and you're still going to have a lot of detail. As to where the iPhone failed miserably here, did not focus on the lilies. It focused on the lilies, but the back here. Yeah, that's not the one that I pointed at. Nonetheless, good texture. Not bad at all, actually. This looks better than the last one. And the last test shot was all these flowers. And this one, yes, I think I cheated on this one because I'm looking at the settings and it's like settings that I would normally use. But nonetheless, I kept trying to compare it to what the actual phone does. So this was shot at f9. I would actually shot this at f11 maybe and step back a little bit and then just zoom in more because I'm at 24 millimeters. So if I would have been f9 or f8 at 50 millimeters and then just step back, this photo would have been a lot sharper from front to back. But nonetheless, you get that bokeh in there. Looks pretty good. Flowers look nice and focused. All the shapes are there. And this bright parts right here is where the sun was hitting really hard. So I'm actually glad that that came out right. And finally, here is the iPhone's photo. Uh, well, it looks like it focused on the same leaf there. That was pretty good. And then the flowers, they look like flowers, but they don't look like photograph flowers. They look more like painted flowers because it doesn't have all that great texture on there. And you can see that even the background is still kind of off focus as well. It's just the bokeh is just not the same. I do like the way these leaves come down though. So that's actually a really nice setting for a photo. Maybe for portraits. Hey, that's a good idea. And so, yeah, so these are the photos from the iPhone 12 versus the Canon R6. And, I look on the screen for the iPhone and it looked pretty good, but I already know that the phone is not going to compare to a DSLR. I mean, there's no way. I think it's going to be good to a certain point, but it's not going to be something like I said on the video. I'm not going to rely on my phone to take professional photos. Yes, the Canon R6 is not the most expensive, but I mean, we're talking about spending $2,600 on just the body on a camera. And then the lens, that I have is a third-party lens Tamron, which I went for it because it was cheaper at $1,300. But I mean, if you're comparing 1,300 plus 26, you're looking at almost $4,000 just for this setup. To where the phone, depending on how much RAM or storage you have, you can go up to $1,200-1,300 for these phones. And so, again, guys, you got to remember that these are phones that are meant for talking, maybe browsing the internet, right? Apps, recording videos, because 4K does pretty well. But I don't like the phone telling me what color the screen should be on the video. I like to control that. So all my photos that I took over here, I took him at 5700 Kelvin, which is a little bit warm, and that's actually daytime warm. So that's what I took the photo at, and then the iPhone just decided to pick whatever it wants, whatever it wanted to pick. So there you have it, guys. If you have been watching this, thank you so much. I will be making more videos, obviously, as I get a chance to. We'll see what the next comparison test is going to be. I am looking forward to making some video content with the Canon R6, so stay tuned for that. Guys, thank you so much again. Till next time, you guys be blessed. Peace.